This morning I woke up and I read something that just made me nearly fall out of my chair. And in a good way, surprisingly. Well, it already was surprising. So, the gist of it is that there's an article in Politico in which yesterday Senator Harris, who represents my state and with whom I have not been a fan of since she entered the Senate, decided to back Senator Sanders, that is, his Medicare For All bill, which is an advocate for single payer health care in the U.S. This is very strange, given that my other senator, Feinstein's, expressed her supposed concerns about the various parts of the program. Never mind the fact that you should be concerned because it doesn't work, but it's obviously conflict of her interest in the financiers that she has and their ties to pharmaceutical companies, just disguised as being very concerned. So Harris's thing is a little bit more interesting to me because I'm not too well versed in her donors. So I'd have to see if any of them, because they always have some agenda when they fund these mainstream top tier candidates. And it's not to say everyone in Congress is bought off, but the overwhelming majority of them are. So if she's not backed by someone who has an interest in pharmaceutical companies, it's probably one of the bankers that we have to be concerned about. And, this wouldn't really be that worrisome were it not for the fact that she's, contemplating a presidential bid. And I can tell you if that actually occurs and she truthfully backs this, she's gonna go up the tier as to who I'd want very quickly. And it's not, I'm fully aware of her fakeness just as anyone else. But when you get to this point where a majority of the candidates are just either, for lack of a better term, subpar or bought out, which basically are synonymous in this case, we don't have many options. So I'd be more willing to go with the reluctant backer who happens to not be bought out in that particular field than the one who's just no, 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 which is kind of what you'd get from an overwhelming majority of the Republican candidates. And unfortunately, we've seen for the last couple of years that the only way to really get any of these politicians that are bought off or don't support a given issue when they enter office is to give them some incentive that either disrupts their work or is just flat out annoying. So, for example, when people became aware of the various Republicans that were trying to do away with the Affordable Care Act, they went to rallies, they went to their town halls. You had senators and other congressmen canceling town halls because they were intimidated or otherwise annoyed by repeatedly being confronted over their choice to take away the health care of what must have been 11 million people. And it's even more problematic when you think of the fact that we have for so many years had different difficulties with the healthcare system. Even this is before the Affordable Care Act, which is why it needs to be implemented, and that still has issues. But instead of trying to capitalize on where we have done well, which would be being able to cover more people, you're it's the equivalent of taking a step forward and then two or three back. You're going to get rid of the program that let us have that step forward, and in doing so, push us even more further back to crappier times. That's really the best way to put it. So I hope that she really means this. It's definitely going to boost her in my eyes, even though I still have others that I prefer over her. But we'll vet her more as time passes and as this election gets a little bit closer.